तब तक मैं शेयरिंग ऑप्शन देख लेता हूँ।
वो मैंने कर दिया आपको, शेयरिंग ऑप्शन दे दिया मैंने।
हाँ ठीक। So let everyone join so that we can start with.
Good afternoon, one and all, and good afternoon to Professor Nikhil Srivas. Before starting off today's webinar, I will take 2 minutes for profile reading of Professor Nikhil Srivas. Professor Nikhil Srivas completed BE from BN College of Maharashtra in 2009, MTech completed from the Jabalpur 2014, and presently he is pursuing PhD from the Manipal University, Jaipur. Total experience is the more than 8 years, and his area of interest is the mechatronics, industrial robotics, fluid mechanics, and the machine design. More than 10 publications and paper presented in the international and national conferences journal. More than 15 UG projected guided. There is a such type of profile of Professor Nikhil Srivas. Not much taken time. I overview to Professor Nikhil Srivas, sir. Please, sir.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I have been introduced by Professor Yogesh, sir, and thank you so much, sir, for introducing me to your colleagues and students. So, I will just highlight the content of the PPT. Before that, let me just give you the idea of today's webinar. my name is Nikhil, and I'm working in Manipal University from last 6 years, almost 6 years are there. And before that, I was in IIT doing my masters. So this branch mechatronics, and then I explored the mechatronics branch in detail. So I started working in the field of robotics from that day only, from 2012, and now I'm still working in this field. And there are many more things which we can learn from the robotics and the field which supports robotics. So it's a vast field. I will share my screen and then I will start the today's presentation. So yes, so I think it's visible to you.
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Let it just. I'm trying to make it full screen. Yes. Now it is in the full screen mode. So I will be delivering the content which are related to robotics. Then I will discuss upon the uh, applications of robotics. Along with that, I will discuss in detail the robot manipulator and mobile robot and their kinematics. So I have added one more part which is not shown in the title. It is sensor and actuator used to build a robot. So you can take it as an added thing, and I will show the things which are important to get a robot in motion. So starting with the thing that what is robot, uh, one can say it's a replication of human being, or in a general term, we can say a machine that resembles human being and does mechanical routine tasks on command. It was the random house dictionary, but people then try to make it precise. We can say the Robotic Association of America, they coined a term. Hello, hello.
Yes, sir.
I think some noise is coming, sir.
सर म्यूट कर दिया है मैंने.
अच्छा अच्छा ठीक.
जी.
So,
Participants
according
are
to
requested to
robotics.
please mute all the participants, mute the mic. Sir, carry on, sir.
Okay. So in according to Robotic Association, it's a manipulator basically. It's an industrial robot. They have designed it for industrial application. So they have defined it as a industrial robot manipulator, which is a reprogrammable multifunctional manipulator designed to move material, parts, tools, or specialized devices through variable program motions for the performance of variety of tasks. So this there are many other definitions you can find in various resources, and they just give you idea about how the machine is modified to perform human-like actions. If we classify the robot into their major subcategories, so it is categorized as the industrial bot, which are again called as robot manipulator, and the mobile robots. I have shown some pictures which will give you idea what is industrial robot and what is mobile robot, and I will and, explain it in detail in the upcoming slides. So the robot manipulator, they are fixed at one place and they are resembling the human hand or human palm, and they perform actions like pick and place, some industrial applications like painting, machining, drilling, etc., etc., etc. So many applications which were performed previously as through manual mode. Now the robot is employed to get a repeated motion and increase the accuracy of the said task. So the chances of error are being minimized here. Like this, we have mobile robots also, and one can say based on locomotion, the mobile robot term is point. And what is this mobile robot is? Mobile robot basically change its position from one point to another and perform the task. So based on the locomotion style, we can again further classify it into aerial robots, wheel mobile robots, underwater robots, and legged robots. And like in order to get the motion of in different condition through different mode of mechanism, we have to precisely control the motion of the actuator used. Okay, and we have to understand what is the kinematics and what is the dynamics terms associated with such kind of robots. So out of this, the very simple type of mobile robot kinematics can be found in mobile robots, or we can say wheeled mobile robots. The kinematics and dynamics of legged, aerial, and underwater robots is complex to understand and to implement also. So I will start with the robot manipulator, and then I will touch upon some mobile robots and the kinematics associated with the mobile robots. There are again further classification of mobile robots also. It's a wheel mobile robot basically what I'm going to deliver here. So, like I said, the manipulator is the resemblance of human arm, or you can say it is used to carry out the pick and place related task. And when you are going to understand or when you are going to design a robotic arm, we need to understand what are the different terms associated with the kinematics of the robot, because we need to pick something from some place defined earlier and then put it to somewhere else. So while picking up and putting it somewhere else, we need to assign certain set of motion to the robotic arm, which consists of links and joints, okay, as well as gripping tool, etc. So to understand the kinematics of the robotic arm, we need to understand few things first, like the frame or the reference frame. As I have said, the object is placed at certain distance, and from to pick some object from that distance, we need to start from somewhere, and all these motions will be related to a point of reference. We will call them as the fixed reference frame, or we can say it is a world coordinate system or a world reference frame. So this is a reference point. It can be any point on the table, and from that the distance is calculated, and then we move forward further. There is one more frame which is assigned to the tool, which will give you the idea where your tool is lying in the three-dimensional space. Okay, and we need to control that motion. We need to find and trace where actually your tool is lying, and after giving command where it will be. Okay, so a frame of reference is again which is defined with three axes is assigned to the tool, and then you can again assign one more frame to the joints, and we can call it as a joint reference frame also. So joint and the link are related to each other, and they are kept at a distance which is again defined in three-dimensional space by three coordinates x, y, and z. All this data is important when you are going to find when you are going to perform the kinematic related calculations. And why we are doing this kinematics? Because we need to find out where your end effector is lying, or if you know the position of the object, how to reach to that object we need to calculate, and then add to the controller of the robot in the form of a program, so that the action can be repeated again and again without the human interruptions. So I will give you the idea what is kinematics and how we can relate the different terminologies associated with the kinematics in order to find the end effector position, or vice versa, or to find out the inputs required to reach that end effector, the object. Here in this picture, if it is visible to you all, I have shown two links which are connected to each other with a certain joint. Now there are different types of joints also available. Here, two links are associated with each other, and some frames are assigned to them, and their distance are been calculated. So using this distance, using these relations, one can get a 4x4 homogeneous transformation matrix. Basically, the transformation matrix represents the change of orientation and change of position of the joint, or change of position or change of orientation of the end effector. End effector is the tool holding device, or you can say it's a tool end. The mechanical gripper, you can say this is the end effector. And how this has been changed: when you provide certain input in order to grip something, in order to put something, in order to place something at a certain point, that can be calculated using this homogeneous transformation. Okay. Now, what is homogeneous transformation matrix, or we can say homogeneous transformation is a collection of rotation, motion, and linear translation at a particular point defined on the robot or manipulator. It can be anywhere on the joint, it can be anywhere on the link, it can be anywhere on the end effector. So basically, in robotics, we use two joints, which is one is revolute joint and other is prismatic joint. There are other joints are also used, but they will add the complexity to the problem, and their control is somewhat difficult. So in general, if you see a robot, they are comprised of linear as well as revolute type of joints only. Now, in the homogeneous transformation matrix, you can see here three columns. The first three columns is a 3x3 matrix. In that 3x3 matrix, the first three columns represent the rotation vectors R1, R2, and R3. Rotation vectors are nothing but the unit vectors defined along x, y, and z axis, which will give you rotation motion about x, y, and z axis. And this rotation matrix, what will it do? It will change the orientation. Orientation is like, if you see something, if you are like looking at some point, you have to turn your neck right and to right or left, to up or down. So you are standing at certain point, that is fixed point, but you are changing your face location. So this is change of orientation. In robotics, the after reaching to the certain location, the gripper will try to adjust its face in order to pick something, or align itself uh, with the object. So in order to do that, whatever rotation it is performing along x, y, and z, they are recorded in terms of unit vectors and collectively placed in a matrix that is called as rotation matrix. The last column, what you see here, is the representation of the translation. Translation is the linear motion of a robot, or a linear motion of the joint, or linear motion of the point on the joint or the robotic link. So if one robot is comprising of prismatic joint is the joint which will have only linear motion, translation only. So if a robot joint is a prismatic joint, it will change the position from one point to another point. And to represent this change of position along x, y, and z direction, one more vector is used, and that is called as position vector. If you club this together, it will not give you a square matrix. So in order to make it square, one row has been added, where the first three columns of this last row are kept zero. There will be no change when you multiply with this zero with the next transformation, and one global scale is added. Now, what is this global scale means? The global scale is the zooming in and zooming out function. It means if you are designing a robot with actual dimension, the global scale is 1. Or if you are changing this dimension of the robot and making it as a prototype or reducing the dimension of the robot, you can change the global scale and the dimensions are being converted accordingly. So this homogeneous transformation matrix will give you idea how the robot joint is transformed. If it is rotated or if it is translated, all the data related to the rotation and translation will be recorded. And I will use this transformation in order to give the actual end effector position. So here in this picture, one open kinematic chain robot is shown, or you can say this is a mechanism. It's an open kinematic mechanism. It's not closed. So the end effector of the robot will be in three-dimensional space, and if you change the, if you provide the input at any of the joint, the ultimate position or the end effector location will change, and it is not easy to trace it down because for tracing the location, for tracing the position, automatically you will be needing sensors or you will needing cameras, and then you have to like convert the images into mathematical terms and then use it into the again the code. So it will make it will add complexity to your program. Now in order to find out where your end effector is, a mathematical expression is been designed by different scientists, and then that is used as a kinematic solution to such kind of problems. So there are two methods actually to use this kinematic solution. Uh, we can use direct kinematic methods, or we can call it as forward kinematics. In forward kinematics, you will change the joint, or you will provide input to the joints. The input will be in the form of rotations or translation, and you will be able to see where your end effector is lying. Okay. And next thing is inverse kinematics. And inverse kinematics scenario will change. You will be provided with the final position where you want to go, or where your robot will be actually going. That is the place of object kept on the table, or a workpiece kept on the table, and you have to pick it up. So while picking it up, what are the different motions you need to perform? That thing you need to calculate. So given the final position, and you need to calculate the rotation or translatory motion provided to the robot in the program. So this is inverse kinematic problem. And in inverse kinematic problem, generally this is the industrial problem. You will find that there will be fixed conveyors, fixed table available, or there are some CNC machine installed at certain location, and the robot is assigned beside it, and you need to load the object or unload the object through the robot. So the chuck position is fixed, or the conveyor position is fixed, and you need to reach to that position. So you have to calculate the rotation and translation to be performed, and turn them into mathematical equation, or turn them into a homogeneous matrix, and then utilize for the coding applications. So in direct kinematics, what we are doing is what I have explained, that you don't know the end effector position, and you are providing certain input and looking for its final position. So here in this picture, one can say from starting from the base, and there are certain joints. The robot may be having 3 to 7 joints. The robot may be having number of joints, and if we start from base to the end effector, different frames will be assigned. They are reference frames, and they will give you idea about the rotation and orientation of that particular joint or end effector. So once you know the rotation and orientation vectors assigned to the particular joint, you will put them in the transformation matrix, and each joint will have one transformation related to the previous one. So the homogeneous transformation matrix which is created here, I will call it as a n minus 1 to a1 a0 or a n a etc etc. So depend upon the number of joints, you will have number of transformation matrices, and when you multiply them together, it will give you the final orientation and position of the end effector. So this is direct kinematics, which is easy method, and it is just a matrix multiplication, 4 cross 4 matrix multiplication. If the robot is having 6 degree of freedom, it will have 6 homogeneous transformation matrix, and then if you multiply them together, you will have the end effector position. Now in this homogeneous transformation matrix, there will be joint variables which will give you idea of rotation and translation. So if the joint is revolutory joint, the input will be provided in terms of theta or angle. Like if you are rotating any object, any joint by 30 degree, the input will be accordingly changed, etc etc. Then you will have to multiply these matrices, and finally you will be able to see the end effector position. On the other hand, inverse kinematics give you idea and it's about the joint variables to be provided. Previously, joint variables depend upon you, and now the joint variables are dependent on the end effector position, final end effector position, or the workpiece position. So we need to go in the reverse direction, and while going in the reverse direction, we need to adopt the same forward kinematics method, but this time we need to use the inverse of the matrices. So once you use the inverse of the matrices, this problem will change into algebraic equation in the form of algebraic equation. And if the number of degrees of or number of joints of the robot are high, the algebraic equation will be become lengthy, and its solution, getting solution is difficult. And of course, some trigonometrical relations are there, so it is not easy to get the inverse kinematic solution. And one may find that there are multiple solutions to the same problem, or some point there may be existence of non-existence of a solution, that you are not getting any final answer, or sometimes you will get singularity, that this point is very much close, so we cannot reach to this particular location. So such kind of problems are associated with inverse kinematics. So this method is very difficult to understand, but its practical application is more. But before solving inverse kinematics problem, one have to understand the direct kinematics first. Now I will move to the mobile robot section. In this mobile robot section, I will start with the classification of this wheeled mobile robot first. Basically, the wheeled mobile robot is classified into holonomic and non-holonomic categories. The holonomic category is associated with the freedom given about the axis. Like the possibility of motion is more in holonomic thing than the non-holonomic robots. Or we can say the motion of the mobile robot is restricted about one axis in non-holonomic robot, and it is allowed in all the axes in the holonomic robot. Further, we classified the holonomic robot into 3-wheel or 4-wheel holonomic robots. But there are many non-holonomic applications of this mobile robot. Like we have differential mobile robot. We again classified the non-holonomic into the steering, utilized for steering, changing the direction, and number of wheels. Depending upon the number of wheels, we can again classify into tricycle, Ackermann steering, caster support, or inverted pendulum, etc., or unicycle. So all these things are non-holonomic robots, mobile robots. Here you can see the picture. It consists of holonomic robot, which is three-wheel holonomic robot. It's omnidirectional basically. So the rotation of the wheel is possible in all the three directions, X, Y, and Z. So this robot can go into n number of directions. Okay, depending upon its application. So if you want to move it in any direction, you can change the coordinate and provide the input, it will go into that direction. There is no directional constraint for such kind of robot. So so what makes it omnidirectional? A special type of wheel is utilized here, and they are fixed at certain angle, and this will give advantage to this robot. This will add the it increase the movability of this kind of mobile robot. इसमें in this robot you can find the placement of such kind of mechanism wheel. It is fixed at certain angle, or we can say angle of 45 degree to the axis of the base wheel. So there are number of such kind of rollers you can see are fixed on the circumference, along the circumference of this wheel, and uh, when you provide motion to the wheel, it can move to certain angle, but you have to control the motion in which you want to move the entire body. So this is typical holonomic arrangement. That was the three-wheeled mobile robot I have shown, and this is four-wheeled holonomic robot. And in this, you need to control the direction of two wheel at a time. अब किसी एक डायरेक्शन में बढ़ना है तो आपको दो व्हील्स को कंट्रोल करना होगा, उसकी वेलोसिटी, तो आपको एक डायरेक्शन मिलेगी. In this picture you can see the top wheels of the front wheels are shown here, and if you control if you make the velocity, angular velocity of right front wheel and left back wheel same, you will have direction in the or motion in the resultant resultant of this is T3. So T2 and T3 are pointing in the same direction. The entire robot will move in the direction of T2. Like this, you can change the direction, and if you are able to control the forward and y directional and x directional motion of any of two of the wheels, so we can have different direction motions. So it is complex to control. Such kind of robots are complex to control, but its advantage is you can go in any direction from the without changing the orientation of the robot.
Nikhil sir, sorry to disturb.
जी sir.
Only 4 minutes are left. According to
अच्छा.
this, आप थोड़ा सा मैनेज कर लें, है ना सर? क्वेश्चन यदि कोई पार्टिसिपेंट्स यदि कोई क्वेश्चन करना चाहता है तो पूछ सकता है. आप देख लीजिए सर, 4 मिनट सोचे हैं. हाँ.
तो कोई नहीं, कोई दिक्कत नहीं. इट्स बेसिकली
यदि कोई मेन इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग्स है तो आप
तो
उसको शेयर कर सकते हैं. यदि मेन इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग्स यदि आपको लग रहा है.
मैं ये चाह रहा था सर, बच्चों को थोड़ा सा आइडिया मिले कि कैसे हम लोग रोबोट बना रहे हैं.
जी जी
और
जी
कितने कितने टाइप के रोबोट अवेलेबल हैं, और
जी.
कैसे हम लोग उसका मोशन कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं.
जी.
तो जैसे मैं हर बार क्लास में प्रैक्टिस करवाता हूँ बच्चों से, थ्योरी पढ़ाने के बाद हम लोग कोशिश करते हैं कि उसको फिजिकली देखें कि क्या प्रॉब्लम आ रही है और कैसे हम लोग उसको इम्प्लीमेंट कर सकते हैं. और उसके लिए हमने बेसिक नॉलेज मैं देता हूँ, जैसे कुछ सेंसर्स का नॉलेज देना पड़ता है, कंट्रोलर्स का नॉलेज देना पड़ता है. तो आई हैव शोन सम सेंसर्स हियर व्हिच यू कैन यूज फॉर पोजीशनिंग एंड finding out the obstacle, etc. So some of the basic sensors are here: GPS sensor, LIDAR sensor, radar sensor, ultrasonic sensor is used here. And for motion we have AC motor, DC motor, stepper motor, etc, etc.
सर
So,
एक डाउट है सर.
हाँ जी.
जी.
सर ये स्टेपर मोटर से भी कोई बेटर ऑप्शन है क्या? आई मीन फॉर द मूवमेंट, फॉर द for increasing the, I mean, for lifting anything or somewhat?
See, stepper motor will be like give you more number of steps. आपके number of steps उससे बढ़ जाएंगे, बट स्टेपर मोटर को कंट्रोल करना थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट हो जाता है, जो प्रॉब्लम आपने एक्सपीरियंस किया होगा कभी। अब अगर
नहीं सर,
आप पे
आई मीन सर, अगर
हेलो,
किसी, एक्सक्यूज मी सर,
हाँ जी हाँ जी कहिए।
सर अगर सडन मुझे अगर टॉर्क के साथ कोई चीज उठानी है तो वहां पे स्टेपर मोटर जो है वही काम करती है। जनरल मोटर सर क्या सेम टॉर्क पे हमेशा उठाती है, और स्टेपर मोटर में क्या सर वो टॉर्क चाहिए नहीं चाहिए उस पर डिपेंड नहीं करता है। तो स्टेपर मोटर से भी बेटर कुछ है क्या, कुछ ऑप्शन में?
स्टेपर मोटर से बेटर जो है वो एनकोडेड मोटर्स आती है, हम लोग उसको सर्वो भी बोल सकते हैं, ठीक है।
ओके
सर्वो,
सर।
एसी सर्वो, डीसी सर्वो मोटर्स हैं, ठीक है। वो भी एक बहुत एडेड एडवांटेज आपको मिलेगा उसमें, वो अगर आप यूज करते हो तो, ठीक है। तो
ओके
यू
ओके
कैन सी वेराइटी ऑफ स्टेपर बट सर्वो मोटर्स आर अवेलेबल, ठीक है।
ओके।
और कुछ सिंक्रोनाइज्ड इंडस्ट्रियल ग्रेड सर्वो मोटर्स जो रहती हैं वो आपको प्रिसाइज मोशन देगी, और जो फीडबैक मिलेगा उससे वो भी बहुत शानदार होगा। तो उसकी कंट्रोलिंग आपकी आसान हो जाएगी, और मोशन जो होगा जर्क्स नहीं देंगे। जैसे आप आर्डिनो से प्रोग्राम करते हो या फिर किसी चीज़ से प्रोग्राम करते हो, तो झटके बहुत आते हैं धीरे धीरे। तो उस चीज़ को रेक्टिफाई करने के लिए इंडस्ट्रियल ग्रेड मोटर्स का यूज़ किया जाता है, सर्वो मोटर्स बेसिकली दे आर एम्प्लॉयड।
ओके, थैंक यू सर। ओके।
Okay. Here there are some drivers, motor drivers are also shown. Uh, जैसे डीसी मोटर ड्राइवर है, स्टेपर मोटर ड्राइवर है, एसी मोटर ड्राइवर है। मोस्ट डिफिकल्ट मोटर टू कंट्रोल इज एसी मोटर। तो एसी मोटर को कंट्रोल, अगर आप एसी मोटर लगा रहे हो तो उसको कंट्रोलिंग करने में बहुत सारे चीज़ें आपको यूज़ करनी पड़ेगी, बिकॉज द करंट विल चेंज इज फेज। हर सेकंड वो अपने अपनी फेज चेंज कर देगा, और डीसी मोटर के केस में आप एक कांस्टेंट पल्स पे उसको चला सकते हो, तो उसकी कंट्रोलिंग बड़ी आसान है डीसी की। एसी की कंट्रोलिंग बहुत डिफिकल्ट है, तो हमारे पास उसका एक एसी मोटर कंट्रोल, एसी मोटर ड्राइवर हम लोग यूज करते हैं। अगेन उसकी प्रोग्रामिंग थोड़ी डिफिकल्ट है। तो बेसिकली जो आपको रोबोटिक मॉडल मिलेंगे वो छोटे मॉडल्स डीसी मोटर्स पे ही ज़्यादा आपको मिलेंगे। और यहाँ पर मैंने कुछ अच्छे माइक्रो कंट्रोलर्स दिखा रखे हैं, आर्डिनो, स्पार्टन, एटमेगा, रास्पबेरी पाई और कॉम्पैक्ट रियो। तो इसकी थोड़ी सी जैसे एप्लीकेशंस इसके, या फिर प्रोग्रामिंग स्पीड इसकी, या फिर इसकी जो कंट्रोलेबिलिटी है वो बढ़ जाती है, बट इसकी प्रोग्रामिंग आपको फिर सीखनी पड़ेगी। और ये मेरे क्लास के कुछ छोटे छोटे मॉडल्स हैं, मैं बच्चों से जब बनवा रहा था, मतलब